Hey guys, Caddy to the Llama coming back at you with another movie review. And today I'm going to be talking about the new Army of the Dead movie on Netflix, directed by Zack Snyder. Um, and I thought it was actually a really good zombie movie. Much like kaiju movies, I'm a pretty big zombie nerd. A couple years ago I went through a pretty big um, just I went through just a big zombie stage where I was watching pretty much everything available, and really got into the Japanese and Korean, the Asian zombie movies that have been coming out, which were a lot of the better zombies. Um, zombie movies that were being made at the time, and I think this one is pretty good. Obviously it's science fiction, so it's never going to be perfect. There's always going to be things we can nitpick, and always things we can, you know, uh, look back on and be like, well, he probably, Zack Snyder probably could have done this better or that better, and Zack Snyder himself, I know he's really big in nerd circles. I think he's a tad overrated. Um, I think he's a decent director. I wouldn't put him, as a top tier guy if I was, you know, trying to really, really make something that's really good. I mean, obviously, he's never really been like um, he's not Ron Howard. He's not Steven Spielberg. He's not going to be a multi-time Academy. He's not going to contend for the Academy Award every 2 years or whatever. He makes superhero movies and he makes sci-fi movies, and that's what he's really good at. So, um, but in this one, this is a written, directed, produced Zack Snyder film, and he did it with the partners at Netflix, but this was all his baby. So it was all his team. He had a lot of the same people back from the Dawn of the Dead movie. If you don't know that there is also there's a half-hour director's film also available on Netflix where they kind of go in depth about a few things from the show, and he's got a lot of extra people in there that talk about working on Dawn of the Dead and then working on this one, and how they were so happy to come back to the zombie genre and make this movie. Um, but story wise, I think it's really good. Um, Obviously, in all zombie outbreaks, we really don't ever always have a clear picture of where the virus came from. It just starts with these soldiers picking up and transporting something out of Area 51. There's lots of hints about it being, you know, an alien, something alien. The soldiers are kind of joking around about them. It's Area 51. It's definitely the thing. They're talking about, and so there's lots of hints. And then even now afterwards, Zack Snyder himself has made a lot of because there are a lot of questions about the movie that I'll get into, and he has come back and been like, well, it could have been aliens, it could have been government experiment, it could have been a lot of things. It could have been a bioweapon. Um, he's leaving it very open ended. So I mean, they've already announced there's going to be a sequel. There's two prequels coming. Zack Snyder's already making a TV show off of this, so I think there's like a anime coming or a cartoon coming, and I know for sure there's at least two like pre-stories of this. So it seems like this is going to be kind of like a zombie world type show that he's going to be working on, much like he was the Justice League, where he made several movies, and he's kind of world building more than just making a one-off. So it'll be interesting how they approach that with a lot of the questions that they left unanswered in this movie. Our main zombie bad guy, Zeus, is not a normal zombie. He is like a super zombie. It's not really like it's not really like a virus that eats away at you and decays the human. It actually kind of creates more of a second species type human to where um, uh, Zeus does not rot away. He he um, he retains all of his cognitive abilities. Um, Anybody he bites gains pretty much the same abilities, and they're referred to as alphas. And then everybody that the alphas bite are called shamblers. And so um, it's almost more of like I said, a second species, like a branch off. And they're super strong. They're like superhumans. Like they can they can take a beating. They're very fast. They're very strong. It's a very interesting twist on the zombie movies. So it's not exactly the same retelling that we're seeing over and over again. We have tiger. We have zombie tigers. We have a zombie horse, which I think is a good addition, but also left holes, in there. Um, and then also the zombies are able to procreate. There's Zeus and his queen are pregnant throughout the movie, and is kind of like a main target point of uh, you know the kind of the fight that breaks out, with all that. So um, the characters, I think it's a really really good cast. Dave Bautista, the wrestler, who's been kind of making his way into movies the last couple of years, I think is a very underrated actor. I think a lot of people have a hard time seeing past all the muscles, and they have a hard time seeing the actor there. And I think he's very underrated in terms of his acting ability, um, and also just the diversity of the cast. We have a star that is an Indian actress from India. We have one of the biggest German actor stars in this movie. We have um, a, a a Spanish actress. It's a very diverse. We have a French actress. It's a very diverse cast with just kind of nitpicking. We have Tig Notaro, the comedian. She's in this movie. I think it's a very well put together group. There's very hard to kind of point at one person and be like, this was the weakness in the movie. We got Hiroyuki Sanada. He's a great little. He doesn't have a big part, but he has a great. He does great with what the part is. And it's hard to point at anybody in here and be like they point out a weakness. If I was to pick somebody and be like, this guy was this person was the best actor in the group, I think the German actor, I'm gonna slaughter this name. His name's Matthias Schweighöfer, and he played Ludwig Dieter. I think is the best actor in this movie. I think he killed it as Dieter. He is he is the safe cracker. So the story is that the zombie outbreak happens, as they're transporting out of Area 51, just outside of Las Vegas, and they take over Las Vegas. And in an attempt to quarantine everything, to contain the virus, they basically wall off Las Vegas and trap all the zombies inside there. And this takes place like 6 years after the outbreak. And Hiroyuki Sanada hires Dave Bautista in this group of mercenaries to go in and rob the vault at the bottom of the casino that he owns in Las Vegas that has $200 million in the bank in the basement. And if they make it out, they get to keep $50 million of the $200 million. Now, there's obviously some side story going on here, because even Sonata, explains that he's already been been reimbursed for for all the money he lost from his insurance. And so like obviously, and there's little hints about it throughout the whole as we're building up to it that there's something else going on here. But that is like the main story of what most of the movie focuses on. My guy that I liked most was Matthias Schweigerhofer, and he was the safecracker. I thought he was absolutely hilarious. I thought he did just amazing as the kind of like the not badass of the group, because everybody here is like a trained soldier, like a badass at killing zombies, and they all have their thing, and he's just a safecracker. Like I think he did amazing. The whole movie, I was like hoping that they weren't going to kill him. Like that seems to happen in most of the movies like this. Is that I find a favorite character, and then most of the time, 95% of the time they end up getting killed off. And I spent the whole movie going, God, I hope they don't kill Dieter, because I really every scene with him I thought was hilarious, like just so good. I'm gonna have to check him out more. I mean, he hasn't done much American stuff, but he has done a few things. But he is rather big in Germany if you're into foreign films or anything like that. Now back to the story and what I thought were some of the holes that were left in the story. Okay, so we have a zombie tiger and a zombie horse, like I referenced before. If you're going to have a zombie tiger and a zombie horse, that means you're going to have zombie animals of everything. It means we're going to have zombie birds, okay, just like in Resident Evil. If we have zombie birds, we don't have no quarantine. We have no quarantine. We have no containment. Even in Las Vegas, where it's really, really hot, there are some birds. So I find that to be problematic. Definition of the virus. Obviously, not every zombie film defines like this is exactly what the virus is, and if they have plans for it in the second one or in the prequels, obviously it's less of a hole. But for those completists out there that want to like really know everything about the shows, it is a hole that we're not given any information about what this virus really is. Lots of hints, but no answers. At one point, we have when all hell starts breaking loose inside the casino, and our group is just dropping zombies left and right. At one point, there is a robot zombie shot in the face, and it is a full robot. We see its face for just a split second, but we see a metal face under the skin, blue eyes, sparks shooting out of its face as Batista has blown it all apart. And I find that to be an issue. Like there's no reference to anything like that going on. And I've read online that maybe it was being used as like a government spy thing, but throughout the whole movie, Sonata and his group are constantly asking other people questions about trying to find information about what exactly is going on here. So if they are asking questions, if they have a robot surveillance zombie, why are they asking all these questions? I think it was just kind of like I think it was just a hole that didn't need to be there. They just threw something in. I don't know what the purpose is. Hopefully it gets answered in some other, content that they put out, but we'll see. We have to lose people. It's a zombie flick. But at one point, when we lose our first person, she's being overwhelmed by the zombies. And she is just kicking so much tail that it honestly surprises some of the characters. And they have a clear chance to save her. That is so clear that it's not even a if they're going to save her. And when it starts happening in the movie, I'm like, oh yeah, we got her back. But they choose to not save her and leave her to become zombie, leave her to be overtaken by the zombies. And I find that to be problematic. It was like, it's a double cross that happens, and obviously we have to start eliminating people but it just wasn't. I just felt they could have done it differently because they left it to where she busts back into the hallway where else is at, and everybody just kind of turns and stares at her. Nobody opens cover fire. Nobody provides any help. They actually pull the one guy who's trying to help. They pull him out and leave her to die. And I thought that was just poorly done. It could have been done better. Um, they're supposed to escape this whole situation with a helicopter. They're going to fly off the roof with a helicopter. Okay, this is like a 12-person team. And they're supposed to carry $200 million out of this bank, out of this casino. Now, and the helicopter they have is like an old school, like Black Hawk helicopter. Like it might not carry 12 people. Like, I mean, its maximum capacity might be 10, but it ain't carrying 12 people and $200 million out of this casino. Money's heavy, like that's one thing you hear from criticism of bank robbing movies and any heist movie. Money is heavy. So if you see people loaded up with bags and bags of money and they're just running down the street, um, old school heist movie, Heat, when they're running down the street, blah, 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 and they're carrying 2-3 bags of money, that ain't happening. That money is so heavy that they're not carrying 3 bags of money. And this helicopter is not going to carry, 2 pallets of money, which we see the pallets of money. It's not going to carry 2 pallets of money and 12 people out of here. The second I saw the helicopter, I mean, even the second I saw the plan, I was like, that's not going to work. I mean, it might work for somebody. It's a very decent story for somebody who doesn't look for those type of things, but I'm looking for those types of things, and I'm like, well, that helicopter's not going to work. Your helicopter pilot should be pointing that out. Your helicopter expert, like I have a problem with little things like that. They just left it in there because for people who weren't going to ask questions, they don't care, but I care. People like me care. At one point, a guy gets locked in the vault. And after everything goes down, he comes out of the vault. Now, I'm not a bank guy. I don't build vaults for a living. I don't build money vaults. But if I'm not mistaken, like I don't think there's a way to get out of a vault from the inside. That wouldn't make any sense to me. That you would build it with an ability to open it from the inside, unless people are accidentally locking themselves in, I guess, like a trunk of a car. Now they have to put emergency trunk releases on the inside, I guess, maybe. But when he came out of the vault, I was like, I mean, I called it when it happened that he was going to survive, and he was going to come walking out of here at the end, and there are other issues I want to get into, but they kind of lead to too much spoilers, and so I'm gonna kind of leave some of them. But I just felt that this comes back to my whole thing with Zack Snyder being a little overrated. Like he's a good director and he's a good nerd director, but some nerds put him way up. Like this whole thing with the Snyder Cut, when he was making the Justice League Snyder Cut, like so many nerds were hyping him up, and I was like, I don't know. I mean, he made, in my opinion, one really good movie, which was the Owl movie he made way back in the day, like the 2003 Owl, um, um, like digital kids movie. Like I thought that's like the best movies he's made. Like other than that, it's kind of like, I mean, Dawn of the Dead was good, but like what does he have? He has Justice League. He's got the Batman versus Superman. Like I don't know. I think he's a little overrated. And this story, if you're really kind of looking to kind of get deep into it, it's got a lot of holes that I felt a better director would have covered. But it is what it is. But it's still a good zombie movie. Probably one of the better zombie movies made in America in the last couple years. Some twists and some turns, some additions. Probably put it as an A ranked. I probably put it as an A ranked zombie movie. Um, Enjoyed it. My wife enjoyed it. She usually doesn't even like zombie movies, but the gore wasn't too bad. The story was kept her entertained, and she's not a big movie person like that, so which is it says a lot. But I would not put it as an S tier because of the holes, and yeah, just generally because of the holes of the movie and so many questions. Um, but yeah, pretty good for me. But that's going to do it for me, guys. If you guys like this video, comment, like, subscribe. Let's get into some zombie movies, man. We can talk zombies because like I said, I'm just as big of a zombie fan as I am a kaiju fan, and I can talk zombie movies. I've seen pretty much, I mean, a good 75%, 80% of zombie flicks. So, big fan of the genre, and this is a pretty good addition. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.